You're making us pay for something that you used AI for. The periodic table is just jarbled words. We have new planets called Mark.
They're telling me that I have to teach this 4th grade curriculum that these kids can't even read.
Teachers are furious, and they have been trying to get their voices heard for the past few weeks on social media, but unfortunately people are hooked up on more important things like GTA 6 news and the latest celeb gossip, so I'll be the one to fill you guys in. But first, check this out.
I just finished a 3-hour class. I literally broke down in the middle of class because I'm teaching seniors. These kids are leaving high school and going to college, hopefully. After they finished, we had 2 paragraphs to read, 1 sentence complete to write. I gave them the sentence stems. I basically completed the sentence for them in the model. These are 17 and 18-year-old kids, and they couldn't fill in 4 words. 4 words. I gave them the answers before we even had the problem, and they couldn't do it.
Teachers are sounding the alarm about how badly students are struggling in the classroom. And mind you, he's talking about 18-year-old kids that are about to graduate and be freshmen in college, so it's not just children being unable to read and write, it's literally young adults too. One obnoxiously obvious reason for it is, unfortunately, the damn phone. We used to joke about this shit before, but it's pretty clear now that we're being fucking harvested every day. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they were studying the exact moment a child looks away from their screen so they can suggest content that'll keep them glued for hours. But wait, what's that? They're already doing it. Well, that's just perfect, isn't it? We as adults struggle to get ourselves out of the doom scrolling spiral a lot of times, and I don't know about you guys, but I physically get dumber after a long doom scroll sesh. Like my roommate could be asking me to grab the keys for her and I'd be looking for it inside the fridge. So imagine how much worse it must be for a 12 or 13-year-old kid who's far more susceptible to compulsive behavior. And also the rich Silicon Valley tech bros can become richer. What stage of capitalism is this?
So as a 7th grade English teacher in Florida, I was told outright by my district, do not teach punctuation, do not teach grammar, don't teach parts of speech, don't teach sentence structure, because they're not going to get tested on. The foundations of the English language, I was told not to teach. In fact, if I was teaching them, I technically could get in trouble because I was supposed to be using some random program to help the kids read better, even though this was an English class, read better. And I noticed that when I did teach those things illegally, under the ground, under the carpet, the kids got better at their reading because they finally understood what the function was of the words in the sentence. They understood to look for the subject, look for the verb, look for the adjectives.
It is so frustrating to hear that a teacher could literally see his kids struggling to make sense of some bullshit, quote-unquote, program and still be unable to do anything because he could literally lose his job if he decides to ditch the program to teach in his own way. But did anyone actually ask for these programs? Absolutely nobody. The tech companies just started paying the schools to incorporate their programs into the curriculum so they can continue harvesting data from your child even when he's away from his phone and at school. How fun is that? The students don't need your online learning platform and do 10 different quizzes. They need to master the fundamentals so they can actually start learning and stop memorizing.
So our district now is going to tier 1. So we cannot differentiate. We cannot give the child what they need. Teach 4th grade. I have 2 kids at a kindergarten reading level. I have about 4 kids at a 1st grade reading level. And they're telling me that I have to teach this 4th grade curriculum that these kids can't even read. But I am not allowed to give them material that is at their level. So they sit there. I've been told I can't use anything that's not district approved. So I send emails. I make meetings for them to come and tell me what to teach them because they won't let me decide because they don't trust me because we are not valued anymore as educators.
It is simply stupid to think that some random, standardized program that's probably developed by people who've never taught children themselves is going to be the best way to learn for everybody. And what's even more stupid is that these programs are being trusted over the judgment of a teacher who's probably spent years teaching kids with completely different needs and abilities. How are you going to teach a kid multiplication when he doesn't even know what the number 3 looks like? Look, I'm not saying we should get rid of all the tech from schools. I'm just saying these companies need to stop wet dreaming about the tech completely replacing the teachers, because that that ain't happening anytime soon. And this is what happens when you let the tech companies make all the decisions for your school.
Well, I bet you've never seen this U.S. map before, where Kentucky is Kenvecchi, Indiana is Inolano, and Tennessee is Tunisio, and the list goes on. Well, this was in the agenda given to students at a JCPS middle school.
Mom, did you know that we live in Venecki? And I said, what are you talking about? The periodic table is just jarbled words. We have new planets called Mark. But we have to pay a $10 instructional fee every year in order to get this agenda. So you're making us pay for something that you used AI for.
Listen, AI can be incredibly helpful for automating mundane tasks, looking things up, and making our lives a little easier. But is it reliable enough that you should ask it to generate study material for 8th graders and then just approve whatever it spits out without reviewing it? Absolutely fucking not. And then imagine having to make sense of this gibberish when you're already struggling with reading and comprehension. And the teachers can't help you cause it's against policy to teach you anything other than what the district permits. At that point, fuck it. I'll just volunteer to be a test subject for Elon Musk so he can shove a chip into my brain, beam AI-generated answers directly onto my retina so I can pass all my tests with flying colors. I would ask for an apology letter from the school, but knowing them, even that would be AI-generated. But maybe the students don't even need to be worried about failing class, because check this out. This is a screenshot of a 12th grader's honors classwork. Honors classes are supposed to be more challenging. They're generally more in-depth, faster-paced, and designed to push students. And this is the kind of assignments they're being given. Just complete the sentences type questions where you gotta select the answers from a drop-down menu. Look at this. 4 questions and 4 answers all presented to you on a silver platter. You just need to match them. I mean, what the hell is going on? Have the schools just given up on preparing the assignments because they know the students are gonna use AI anyway?
So the war on phonics is one of the strangest phenomenons that I have ever seen in education. And the thing about it is, it has more to do with money, power, greed than the actual children. So what is phonics? Well, phonics is one of the first steps that you're going to take when you're learning to read. The very first step is actually phonemic awareness, which is what sounds do the letters make. So around 3-4 years old, this is when a child should be able to say A says ah, B says ba, C says ka. They know the sounds that the letters make. Then as they enter kindergarten, first grade, second grade, this is where you're supposed to work on phonics. And so it's basically just taking those sounds, putting them together in order to determine what the word is.
You see, English is one of the stupider languages in my opinion. It has a weird relationship with spellings and pronunciation. Like, why the fuck is MOVE read as move, but LOVE is read as love? There are numerous such examples. And that is precisely why phonics is so important, because this language is dumb. But now that schools are opting to skip phonics entirely, children will have a harder time spotting the patterns and they'll resort to memorizing what each word sounds like.
And so this is where you get the rise of all of these big education companies, because they started scrambling to pitch to all of these school districts that we have the best science-backed reading curriculum and you should buy it. And so reading programs became big business, and it is still a huge business. And you have to think about it, right? If you get a new reading program, you have to get workbooks, textbooks, you have to get computer programming, testing software. And a lot of times these reading programs have multiple workbooks for each child in the district. So it is a lot of money, and they will lock the schools into multiple years, usually 2 to 3 year contracts as well.
So these curriculum companies lock the schools, lock the districts in 2 or 3 year long contracts, and if their program ends up being dog shit, which a lot of times it does, the teachers are forced to watch their kids stall, or worse, get dumber until it's finally decided that those shitty software programs and workbooks need to be nuked out of existence.
Because I'm so serious, you should be absolutely horrified what our country is doing to public education. You should be absolutely horrified that our leaders are so proudly demonizing not only public educators as individuals, but as a system, the entire public education system.
The issue is that our leaders have done a fantastic job of convincing the parents that the reason why their child is still at kindergarten reading level at 4th grade is because of the teacher's incompetence and not the school's greed.
I live like this, so that my students can live like this. So how can I afford to do this on a teacher's salary? The answer is I can't.
Exactly. The teachers are struggling to pay rent. They're just busting their ass trying to not go homeless. But this is what happens next. The people start blaming each other for problems that they didn't create.
Teachers are no longer teaching. Teachers are no longer teaching students. They are telling them to go home, watch videos, read from the textbooks, do notes, take your own notes, study this class on your own, and take these tests. I'm about to finish Unit 1. Our test is next week. And he gave us a worksheet on Unit 7. It didn't teach us anything. Just told us, he hit us up. So he said, read from the textbook. Don't do anything. I'm not being taught. I'm not learning. I want to learn. I want to learn. There's a reason I signed up for this class, and that's because I wanted to know more. But we need to talk about it because this is the second year in a row that I've had to teach myself stuff, and I can't do this. I can't. I really can't.
The angry parents and students start blaming teachers for being incompetent, while the teachers start calling the parents entitled ashholes. Now, I'd be lying if I said I've never had fantasies of punching a random parent in the street because they were clearly a spoiled brat as a kid, and now that they're all grown up, they're doing everything in their power to make sure their child is no better than they were. But that's not to say it's inherently wrong for parents to expect a good quality education for their child. It's just that they're too busy pointing their fingers left and right that they forget to look up where the real enemy is. So do we blame the children for using AI for their assignments, the parents for expecting too much, or the teachers for being unable to give individual students the support they need? Of course, we blame the system that allowed AI and tech companies to infiltrate our phones, our homes, and now even our schools. Because if we don't start raising our voices while this problem is still somewhat limited and contained, it won't be long before it becomes widespread. And then we're going to have an entire generation of students graduating with little to no employable skills whatsoever. But there may still be light at the end of the tunnel. See, people have already started bringing the fight to the big tech companies that helped start this mess in the first place. Meta is currently being sued by 29 states over allegations that the company deliberately designed Instagram and Facebook to be addictive to children and teenagers, while failing to adequately protect them from the harms of those platforms. And of course, common folk like us don't even need to see all the evidence that's coming out. We've got enough evidence at home. We see kids and teenagers every day, glued to their screens, struggling just like the rest of us to quit doom scrolling every day. So hopefully we'll see technology become more regulated when it comes to children in the future, but only time will tell. Subscribe for more stuff like this, and I'll catch you in the next one.